Hey there, friends. Welcome to Second Star to the Left. I'm Michelle, and this is Billy. And here's where we'll share board game reviews, ramblings, and a few wrong turns along the scenic route. I'm not here to bash Kickstarter. That has been done enough, and I have no hate for Kickstarter. Some of my absolute favorite games have come from there, and I enjoy the ability for smaller game designers to get their ideas out there, and for games that we want to go all in on upgrades to find an audience that loves its upgraded components. For me, though, I need to learn a little restraint. So far, I have backed over 110 projects on Kickstarter. Yeah, not all of those were games. There were other projects as well, but most of those were games. Take into account that I joined Kickstarter in 2012, so it isn't quite as bad as it sounds. But for the most part, I've only been burned 3 times, and that's an amazing record. I've heard horror stories of people not getting projects delivered, etc., and that just hasn't been the case for me. When I first started backing projects back in the olden days, I didn't really know what kind of games I liked. That means a lot of the earlier games have been already culled from the collection a long time ago. That's on me, though, not Kickstarter. If I don't blame Kickstarter, then why should I be trying to kick the habit? Well, there are a number of reasons. First, I have a lot of games. That's just a given, and I'm not going to defend that, but it's a fact. Second, I tend to spend more on a game on Kickstarter than I would in a store. I go all in. Fancy bits and upgrades, deluxe versions of games I don't even know if I like, and then poof, I forget that I spent that much because the game doesn't show up for a year or more, and it's easy to forget that you have so many games coming when they aren't coming. And third, while trying to be one of the cool kids, you always want to be in on the conversations of what's latest and newest in gaming. Sometimes that means you get so swept away in the hype and anticipation without pausing to decide whether a game will actually get played or not, or whether the cost is worth it after shipping. And those stretch goals get you every time, like the "if you act now" part of a late night infomercial. I'm not saying that it's always a bad idea. If you know that you're going to love a game and the deluxe version isn't going to be available at retail, then yeah, go for it. But that's it, right? Most of these will be available retail and often at almost the same time that you're going to get your copy, so why jump in? Do you need the upgrades? Are you supporting a designer that you love? Or do you just want to stay part of the conversation and the excitement? During the No New Games Challenge in August and September, we included no new Kickstarters, and I'm going to tell you that this is the much harder part of the challenge. I have a running list of games that we might purchase in October, and no, we won't buy all of them, as that would completely defeat the point of the challenge. But I know that I won't be missing out on those. They're going to be available at the store when I want to buy them. But the Kickstarters, if you miss that window, they're gone. There's so much FOMO here. What if I can't ever get the game? It often overshadows if I actually want the game. And again, I'm not going to bash Kickstarter. I've gotten some favorites from there. But I am going to tell you a story about the worst Kickstarter that we ever backed and how susceptible I am to upgrading. Once upon a time, there was Catan. And like a lot of us, it was one of our first board games in the modern hobby as we know it. And I did mention I have a bit of a collection completion addiction, right? When I found out that we liked the game, I went all in, all the expansions. And I'm not sure we ever played all of them, but we could at any time. We have them. And then came the collector board. This beautiful molded plastic board that held all your hexagons in place and kept them from shifting around while you were playing. How cool was that? And even though that campaign was very poorly run, another started for the 5 to 6 player expansion, and another with an adjustable board that you could use for seafarers. Well, if you have one, you need the other, right? But then these boards started taking up space and they're hard to store, and here's where things are going to take a turn for the worse. The company that made the boards designed a canvas bag to hold everything, and I mean Everything. The boards, the tiles, the expansions, everything. And it looked like an explorer's bag from the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. So we went all in, and all in was over $150. That's a lot. But Kickstarter was still newish to us, and the fear of missing out is very real. But the campaign dragged on, and the first set of boards was over a year late. The Seafarers boards didn't show up at all. Communication started to be rare from the company. The comment section was a battle zone. If you've ever wandered into an angry comment section, then you know what I'm talking about. Their licensing deal fell through, or maybe never existed, and the Bags project died. The page was pulled down, backers went to previous projects to complain in previous comment sections, and finally there was a notice that despite their best efforts, they could not fulfill their campaign. So what about the money? That's the funny thing about Kickstarter, right? It's not a pre-order. You're investing in the people developing these games. Getting money back is not a simple prospect. After a few months, we received another email informing us that a second company had purchased all the manufactured bags and designs and were going to finish the production and ship them out at very little profit to them. So for the low price of $80, I could have the Seafarers board and the bag shipped to me eventually. Maybe. So as I find this out when I'm sitting waiting for a ride at PAX East in Boston, I'm exhausted and I just click OK. I mean, at this point, let's just make this happen. And then nothing. Radio silence, as it were. Over a year later, the bag and the boards did arrive. In fact, I got 2 sets of Seafarers, and the bag, it is wonderful. It holds everything in organized pockets like an explorer, and I love it. Do you know how many times we've played Catan since we got this bag? 0. 0 times. So was the bag worth it? I honestly can't say. Maybe, but it was definitely a lesson learned. Sometimes you need to cut your losses, or better yet, think before you go all in. And sometimes maybe we just don't need all the extras or to complete the set. To finish, I want to leave you on something much more positive. Here are the top 5 Kickstarters that I've backed, the list of games that I've been the happiest with since joining Kickstarter. I'm going to leave out some of the bigger names like Tiny Epic Everything. We backed almost all of them. Or Exploding Kittens. Didn't everybody back that one? And my obsession with leader games, so Root and Oath. And I'm going to share some of the others that we've gotten some good plays out of. Honorable mention goes to New Bedford, where you build this Massachusetts town into a thriving whaling community, gather resources, add buildings, launch ships. It's a medium weight tile laying, worker placement, resource management game that we really enjoyed. Designed by Nathaniel Levin, art by Nolan Nasser and Jorge Ramos, and published by Dice Hate Me Studios. If you haven't played this, you should give it a try. It was one of our early surprises. My number 5 is Crimson Creek, designed by Andrew Scott with art by Marco Chui and published by Toy Story and Enterprises. This is a spooky little game that we usually save for around Halloween. It's a love letter to classic 80s slasher films. You and a few friends head to the lake for a celebration and are confronted by the Hatchet Man, and you spend your turns hiding and trying to deduce where he is, work together, and try to survive. The characters are your classic horror movie tropes, the jock, the cheerleader, etc. Think of it as Cabin in the Woods the game. This game is in a tiny box, perfect for an actual getaway to a cabin. Thematically, this one is perfectly spooky. My number 4 is Raccoon Tycoon, designed by Glenn Drover with art by Jacoby O'Connor and Annie Stegg. It's an auction bidding game in a town that is made up completely of adorable animal tycoons. We bought this for the art and stayed for the bidding. We went all in with this one. Nice metal coins and everything. And we're really looking forward to the next game from this team, Lizard Wizard, which, yes, of course, we backed on Kickstarter. My number 3 is Oceans from North Star Games, which is a follow-up to one of Billy's all-time favorite games, Evolution. Oceans is an interactive engine builder where you're evolving deep water species as the environment revolves around you. We always play with the deep, which adds even more options for you to explore. I do wish we could get this to the table more often. It's stunning, but I find that I always need a rules refresher on what, for the most part, is an easy game. So this one doesn't see as much table time as I would like it to. It is a great game and one of the ones that we're happiest with from Kickstarter. Our number 2 is Subterra, designed by Tim Pinder with art by Diana Franco Campos and published by Inside the Box Board Games. This one was a big surprise for us, and we backed it because it looked spooky, but I would say this is probably our favorite co-op game. It's a co-op where you're attempting a terrifying cave escape. There are horrors and dangers around every corner. It's a tile-laying exploration game that is one of the most tense co-ops I've ever played. The last game we played, we didn't know if we were going to escape until the very last tile was played. This one is definitely coming out during spooky months, not a doubt. If you haven't tried this, I'm not sure how available the first version is now, but if you get a chance to play this one, definitely give it a go. Highly recommend. Our number 1 game from Kickstarter is Calico, designed by Kevin Russ with art by Beth Sobel. It's a puzzly tile-laying game of quilts and cats. I'm not sure what else I can say about this game that hasn't been said. It's as popular as it is for good reason. The rules are really simple. Take a tile, place a tile, and yet it is full of tense, tough, strategic choices. It's beautiful on the table and easily a favorite Kickstarter project. If you haven't tried this one, definitely take a look. I think this is going to be a classic like Azul or any of those other kind of abstract games. It's just simple to learn and hard to get good at. So some of those that we're looking forward to the most, and yes, we already backed these so they don't break any no-buy game challenge rules, are Paperback Adventures. I love a good word game, and Paperback by Tim Fowers with art by Ryan Goldsberry is one of the best. It's a deck builder that has you competing for letters to complete the best novels. If you like word games or if you just like deck builders and you haven't played this one, you're missing out. And Paperback Adventures, a solo adventure of my favorite game, sign me up. Number 4 on my list of games I'm looking forward to is Hidden Leaders from BFF Games. It's a light, strategic card game for 2 to 6 players where you mislead your friends and compete for the throne. In Hidden Leaders, you take the role of one of 6 secret leaders. Each of them is allied with 2 of the 4 factions or colors. By playing heroes into your tableau, either openly or secretly, you influence the outcome. The art here is by Satoshi Matsuura and was one of the main reasons we had a look, but the game design by Andreas Mueller, Marcus Mueller, and Raphael Stocker is why we backed this little game of intrigue right away. Number 3 on my list of games we're looking forward to is Longshot the Dice Game, designed by Chris Handy with art by Klaus Souza and published by Perplexed. I love a good race game, and this one just looks like fun. It's push your luck, dice rolling race game. During the game, you buy horses, place bets, influence race movement, and utilize special abilities. This plays up to 8, and I see it being a favorite when we have people over. Number 2 on my list is Spire's End Hildegard, designed by Greg Favreau, and it's an adventure card game where the story unfolds 1 card at a time. You're going to have numerous choices as the story continues. It feels like an RPG without a GM, which is going to be a really good compromise for us since Billy's always trying to drag me into playing RPGs. The number 1 game that I'm looking forward to from Kickstarter is called My Father's Work from Renegade Game Studios. An epic Victorian mad scientist game enjoyed over the course of 3 generations. This game is a spooky campaign game where there are consequences for your family's use or misuse of science. Think Frankenstein, the campaign game. It uses a book as a board to drive the story, moving you from one scene to the next. Look at these components. Double-layered boards, real glass bottles. I was powerless to resist this game. With Young Frankenstein being one of our all-time favorite movies, this is definitely the one I am most excited for overall. But then we're going to slow down. No, really, we are. No more crazy backing of big projects. For a while, I'm not sure that I convinced anyone whether they should or shouldn't back games on Kickstarter, but I'm not sure that was ever my intent. I know that I'm going to try to resist the impulse buys and think more about whether it will get played than whether I want it. It's going to be tough. We've started asking our friendly local game store if they're going to carry the games now before we back them. And if they are, then we'll wait and support our local store. And we're limiting what we back. No impulse buys. You know, unless we just can't miss out. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see or you just want to keep watching until we get one right, please like, subscribe, and share. If you want to find us elsewhere on the internet, the links will be down below. As always, open tables, open minds, and play yourselves.